Okay, and welcome back. So last time we got together, we talked about the day in the life of a top producer. Okay, and that day looked like, this, which we talked about. And what today I'd like to go over are two ideas. One is a small idea, very powerful, but small. And the other is really a more in-depth, big idea that will completely set you apart and also set you free in terms of a lot of your time that you would be spending doing this big idea. Okay? Let's first of all talk about the small idea. I'll get the page turned here. Okay. The small idea is a showing card. Okay? You know how typically when you're showing property or previewing property, you'll leave one of your business cards. And that's all well and good. But that's what everybody does. Okay? Do you want to be different? You want to stand out from the crowd? I think so. If you want to build your business, to a higher level, okay? Here's what I would suggest you do. And this worked like a charm for me and generated a ton of business and certainly goodwill, and as well as set me apart from my competition in my market area, okay? Now, as we talked about before, every day you should preview property. You need to know your inventory better than any other broker that you're competing with, okay? So that means you need to preview property on a daily basis. So you're going to use these cards not only when you show property, but also when you preview property, okay? And the size of this card is like a 3x5 card, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe the size of a postcard. And, at the top, it says in nice script, thank you very much for making it possible to see your home today. Okay, you want to thank them right away. And then you have two boxes on there. One's going to says showing qualified customer. And the other is going to say, previewing. Check the appropriate box. And then there's a place for your comments. Make a few comments. It's always good. And any client comments. If you're showing the property and your clients have any comments they'd like to leave, which I try to elicit something from them, leave those. And then at the bottom, kind of a disclaimer and making sure that you're not stepping on anybody's toes, because this is different and it may, ruffle some realtors' feathers that have the listing. You never know. But you say, should my client wish to purchase, or if I have any questions, I will immediately contact your real estate agent. Okay? That way that covers that. And then there's going to be another little space at the bottom of the card that says number of times shown, and you can fill that in. And then thanks again, your name, your company, your phone number, and anything else that you are required to have on these kinds of cards in your local area, okay, or that your broker may require. And by the way, make sure you get permission from your broker and your company to be able to use this card. I don't want to advise you to do anything that would be that your company wouldn't like or your broker wouldn't like. Okay, so run that by them first, of course. Great tool. What it did for me, again, set me apart with for sale by owners, expired listings, and if I were to show the property to a buyer who was interested and then they wrote a proposal, that seller is going to remember me more than any other realtor because I left this card, which in turn is going to give me a better chance to get the proposal through and to have it work for everybody. Okay. Now let's dive into the big idea. And this is when you get, this is where you really can separate the wheat from the chaff, and really make yourself stand out in the marketplace. Now what I want you to do in this big idea is I need you to consider co-marketing with your affiliates. And if you don't have a team of affiliates, get one immediately. And what I mean by that is you want a lender that you trust implicitly with all your clients, that you don't have to babysit, right? Because that's the worst thing that you could possibly do, not only for them, but for you. You've got to have a great title person, an escrow person that you work with, as well as other affiliates like home inspectors, handyman, that kind of person out there who you are funneling business to. And so maybe they can't directly funnel business to you because for whatever reason they're not allowed to, maybe because they work with so many realtors, whatever. But I think you have the right, if you're going to use them exclusively, to ask them to help you market you and your services, which they should be happy to do, because again, you're committing to them that you're going to use them exclusively. So they shouldn't have a problem, especially if you make it easy for them, okay? So what is this? This is co-marketing, and we're going to use direct mail. It's much more powerful than email. You can use email, it just isn't as, doesn't have as much impact as a hand, sent letter. Now this could be probably be a typed letter versus a handwritten letter, because they're fairly long, a full page, whatever. And but they're going to be sent out by your lender at different milestones, and at every major milestone during your relationship with that customer, whether it's a buyer or a seller, and different points where you're going to send certain letters out, okay? And so again, all major milestones in the transaction from all the major affiliates, okay? So who do you send these to, and what do these letters say? Well, what they say is fairly involved, and we're not going to go over that here today. Happy to share it with you, however. You'll just simply need to email me, and I'll be happy to send you copies of the letters I used, and then you can modify them. Again, run them by your manager, broker, and make sure that everything's cool with him or her and the company. Okay, first, but okay. The groups of people we use them with, of course, are the sellers and the buyers, and different stages of the way. Now, this could be sellers that are currently listed. They could be sellers that are upcoming listing appointments. I used to love that one, because if you had a couple of days between the time you did your first step approach on the two-step listing approach, between that and your second step, have your lender immediately send out this letter, and this time it may have to be an email if it's a really quick time frame, but this letter is fantastic, and it's a third-party validation of you and the service you provide, okay? And it also is showing that customer that, hey, you're on top of things. You've got not only yourself, but you've got a team of people working to get them the highest possible value in the service that you render, okay? Okay, so for sale by owners, you're after expires your sphere of influence in, or maybe a geographic or demographic farm that you're working, okay? Buyers, current buyers, pipeline of prospective buyers, and when you're prospecting out there to find new buyers, okay? Again, there are specific letters for each one of these, although they're very similar. And the cool thing here is what you do is, if you decide to go ahead and get these letters from me, you simply retype them, turn them into a PDF, and then just get them to your lender and tell them the schedule you want them sent out for each particular situation, buyer-seller situation, right? And again, this is good for them too, because it's a way for them to under-promise and over-deliver service to a buyer, or in this case with the lender, and sometimes also the seller, right, who in turn becomes a buyer. We'll get back to that in a minute. Just really quickly, what does this kind of marketing do for you? It's really cool, because, and I made some notes on this. Number one, you don't have to do them, therefore it cleans up your system to do other lead generation activities. Okay, so if you're not the one physically sending out these letters, then it frees your time up to do other things to generate more business. Makes sense, right? If you want to be a top producer, you've got to be continually prospecting and generating business, okay? Number two, these consistently are third-party endorsements which add a ton of credibility to you. There's nothing like a third-party endorsement to add credibility. If you are telling people how great you are and you're in the top 1%, just like everybody else, right? It doesn't really have much meaning, has no teeth to it. If your affiliates, in turn, though, are letting this prospective client or current client know how great you are, then they'll certainly believe it, and they'll have a lot more confidence in you, okay? Number 3, they don't cost you anything. Okay, that's critical. You know, how many things do we try in the real estate industry to generate business that cost a ton of money? And we rarely see a return on because we do the wrong things. Okay, this is a form of prospecting and solidifying relationships that you know, it's invaluable and yet costs you zero other than some time in setting it up, okay, with your affiliate. Now, number 4, watch your clients' reactions to this. This is really cool. You'll not believe the amount of clients for life that you build from these letters. And that is so, so true. The more of this kind of activity that you can put into your quiver of tools, your toolbox, let's say, of ways that differentiate you from the rest of your competition in your market, this is probably one of the top 5 activities that I implemented to explode my business. So hope you've enjoyed this, and again, if you want more information about this and the exact letters that I use, which you can then download, modify, whatever, however you want to do it, then just go ahead and email me, mf7figureman@gmail.com, and I'm more than happy to share those with you. Thank you for joining me today. Make it an awesome day. Go out, get a lead, make a sale, have some fun. Thanks.